Hello, everybody.
Hello.
How are we?
We are well.
I could have got you one of these and actually been a host of some description.
You offered. It's fine. I'm like a camel. I take on a load of water in the morning.
What,
and then...
2 humps Charlie?
Yeah. And on that subject, let's talk about sex.
Yeah, baby. Hello, everyone. Right, this is the first and hopefully of many, should I get any more volunteers, on the psychology of sex. The reason for doing this stream, like many of the streams I do, is to talk about subjects that not everybody are comfortable talking about. Also to get a bit of awareness about people's experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, the horrendous, everything that goes on. Sex affects all of our lives in different ways. Some of us have very positive experiences, some of us have very negative experiences. Early experiences can taint your life for however many years in the future, have strong psychological effects on your well-being. And there are so many different, and we were just saying, there are so many different levels and facets to sex and the different avenues that we can go down. So we haven't pre-planned anything.
When have we ever?
No, because that requires planning. And we don't do
and
that.
Forethought.
Yes, exactly. So we are going to start off and see how the conversation goes. Anybody has any questions, throw them out. We're both fairly candid people. So yeah. There's nothing that we're not going to... no hole we're not going to delve down.
Apart from that one.
Apart from that one.
Yeah.
Right, so shall we start at the beginning? Your mum and dad did a...
No, that's off the cards. I
Okay.
should have said that. We don't talk about parents having sex.
Parental intercourse is not on the agenda. Okay. No. I suppose one of the things I find is when people start to first become, I suppose, sexually not active, but I suppose with puberty and you start to become sexually aware and you start to do things as an adolescent that maybe actually cause sort of stimulus and what people would be described as just sort of young kids playing around. And what sort of age do you think that you first started to sort of go, oh, hang on a minute, stuff does stuff?
I think really late. I went to an all-girls school and we've discussed it over, me and my friends from the school, we've survived it. But none of us had older brothers or younger brothers. We were all either single children or one of sisters. So I didn't meet a boy to talk to until maybe mid-teens when I started going to church club.
Wow.
I mean, until that point, I had this very hilarious, in hindsight, self-confidence in myself as a teenager, where I was like, I'm hot.
Excellent.
I'm year 7, I'm 11, but the year 6 boys, they want me. If anyone's seen a photo of me circa 2003 to 2011, not the case by any stretch of the imagination.
It's good to have that level of confidence.
I wish I had it now. As a 29-year-old woman, I was like, I wish I had that. So to me, sex was like this thing that happened in films, and I didn't... The reality, I think, at any point, if a boy had been like, you and me, come on, let's go, I'd have shit myself.
I think that was probably the same with most boys as well, even though you get the, for those of you who've seen the in-betweeners, the braggers of about, I've had 50,000 shags, I'm only 13, but I am the Casanova of my generation. Yeah. And it's like, no, the reality is if you saw a vagina, you would shit, piss yourself and go and cry in a corner. And just, I don't know what to do.
What goes where?
Exactly. I mean, I remember, the idea, I'd say probably the first thing, I think I said this on my stream before, the first time I remember sort of being a bit strange was when my sister was having a piano lesson. And where I was sitting, I was about 8 years old at the time. And the couch I was sitting on faced away from the piano where my sister was having a piano lesson. So they couldn't see me. So I just whopped my willy out and just wiggle it around and, knock it about a bit. Didn't really do anything with it. Just kind of, oh, hello there.
I have friends who have sons and they are quite happy. I mean, famously, I won't name names because this might come up when he's older, but he'd do the willy dance at me, at their behest. They go, just do the dance for Charlie. And then he'd run off, take all his clothes off and come in and just dance around doing the helicopter wiggling his willy.
Good lad.
And I'm like, that's just boys, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm sure he went on to great things.
He's still a young child, so we're waiting to see what a teenager hood does to him.
By the way, it never stops.
I know.
The willy windmill, the helicopter will just carry on to the end of his days. He'll learn different things. The willy alarm clock, bash him on the head in the morning with it. That's another one. I'm really worried that I'm going to have kids and they're going to be boys, because I don't know how to deal with boys. Oh, when they start spending about 15 hours a day in the bathroom.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, yes, you know.
But I don't think I was realistically. I mean, we'll probably come back to it, but I didn't have my first kiss until I was 18.
I probably wasn't far off that when I remember being, when I was in primary school, kiss chase, and I had girlfriends and we were under the table, having snogs and things. And then I think you start to become aware of girls in a different kind of tingly way.
Tingly in your trousers?
Yes, yeah. And that is when they become absolutely terrifying, and they're a completely different species. And we used to, play spin the bottle, and my sister being 2 years younger, her friends would come round, so cool, I'm the older brother and they're the younger, all that kind of thing. So only 2 years, nothing Jimmy Savile and pedo.
Nothing illegal.
No, exactly, nothing illegal. But so that was kind of a cool pool of clunge. A young boy... Sorry, what a better word.
Puddle of clunge. They were a great band, weren't they?
But yeah, I suppose so. That was my. But I remember literally not knowing how to deal with it. If a girl, I've got some hilarious stories. I think I've told them on the stream of girls coming on to me and me literally just falling apart, absolutely just crumbling into a little pile of gibbering wreck on the floor.
I mean, so many of the most confident guys I know, you included, I've heard so many stories about women finding them attractive and then being like, what? Why? Yeah. What is wrong with her?
Oh, God, yeah, the amount of self-put-downs you'll come out with when a girl says she fancies you.
Yeah.
So, are you blind? That kind of...
My dad's favourite is something about, it was like, I went out on a date this weekend. He's like, oh, where was it? I was like, we went outside. Oh, I suppose for his guide dog then.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad. Love you. But yeah, I mean, they're already in my head, so just kind of confirms that. So
if that was kind of the awkwardness. So when would you say you first started, like all kids do when they start going through puberty and they realise, I get tingly sensations from doing this, and that kind of transition period?
Really late. I think I only really started exploring. Well, my mum gave me a book when I was about 12.
The Holy Bible. Tells you everything you need.
Called Have You Started Yet? And it's all about periods.
Excellent.
And there is a very, very brief page really, about exploring down there, and that you should sit there with a mirror and have a look.
Do it once and never go near it again.
Never do it again. It's like a horror film, the cheapest horror film you'll see. And I think that's when I was like, oh, okay, there is stuff there. Mm-hmm. But I don't think I ever... I mean, I'm going to say it. I don't think I ever masturbated until I was at university.
That's quite a while to hold off.
I didn't, and I think some of the issues I had when I first went to university, which we'll come back to, I don't really know what I thought. I wasn't desperate to have sex, to be doing the sex, to do the relationships and all that. I was very, very concentrating on my education. I didn't know any boys, so it wasn't desperate. None of my friends had boyfriends. We weren't bothered by that. So, sex... So
it wasn't around you as such. It wasn't an influence that you're kind of seeing other people doing it and going, oh, I should be doing that. I want that.
And it's not like nowadays, if you say sound really old, that sex wasn't everywhere. You had people in films, you had sex and it was like missionary, no one saw anything, no one orgasmed on screen. It was just, they're going to get married now,
Yeah.
So it just wasn't...
mainly headshots and a bit of kind of deep breathing and then pan to the morning.
Yeah, duvet up over the shoulders, and then they wake up and she's fully made up and beautiful. Yeah. But yeah, I don't remember having a realistic view of sex or, you know, being attracted to someone or having experiences. It just wasn't on my radar at all.
I think the day I discovered masturbation was possibly the most incredible day of my life. It was one of those things...
Did the sun shine brighter and the birds sing sweeter?
Didn't it just? Everything just had a golden glow. But there was... I also remember... Now, obviously as children you experiment and you're not quite sure, sort of understanding what's going on and things. And because basically my main circle of people were men. Men. That sounds...
Is this a confession?
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Yeah. But no, boys of my age. And therefore, as we were sort of coming into puberty and everything, and you're getting all these urges, we would basically we sort of knew what sex was. We'd seen bits in films. So we'd basically dry hump each other. That's literally what would go on. And this was still in primary school.
It's underrated, dry humping.
Yeah, dogs do it. If dogs can get away with it and it's good enough for them, why not it's good enough for us? But no, I remember that happening a lot because, say, you're kids with an itch and you fully don't really understand what's going on. But I remember this one time where, and I've told this on the stream, I think, there was a couple of older lads, and I'm not going to say their names because, I mean, they won't be watching anyway, but...
For legal reasons, you won't say their names.
It would be really interesting to see if they have the same memories or whether they've just blotted them out completely. But they probably wouldn't give a shit, actually. Two of the older ones that said, right, basically what we're going to go down to the woods and wank. And we're like, okay, what does that mean then? They said, basically what you do, you get your willy out and you play with it for a bit until some white stuff comes out. So, great instructions. So basically we've all kind of wandered off into different directions and all just, like sort of not quite sure really what you're supposed to be doing and kind of like flopping it around and sort of... Okay, nothing really happened apart from I got a dodgy stomach, had to shit in a river and walked home with pooey pants. So all in all, my first attempt of a wank wasn't the greatest thing.
That's romantic, that is.
Yep.
I think it's easier for boys because it is there. You can just, knock one out at work.
I'm not commenting on that for legal reasons.
It's just logistically for a woman.
There's a lot more involved.
Yeah. You've got to get, more involved and it gets messy.
That's generally why there are more men, I think, who go dogging than women.
Yeah. Because
it's so much easier.
So logistical. And someone said to me, like, have you never had a wank at work? I was like, no. I'm a woman. It would take me like 20 minutes. Yeah,
I've got to light some candles. I've got to have some incense. I've got to have some erotic literature going on.
Thank you, Chris. It's logistically... I don't know. I'm going to put my hands away for fear of a screen grab. It's just not... And it's not... I don't find work sexy.
No, I can understand that.
Yeah. I mean, if you saw the men I work with, you definitely wouldn't find work sexy. I'm the only woman in the office, so I'll leave it at that.
Sport for choice, but what a choice.
But yeah, I remember I bought my first vibrator.
Oh, thank you, Elle.
Oh, hi, Elle. I bought my first vibrator, I think, at university, and it was just a little bullet. But my Christ, best £15 I've ever spent. I mean, if you haven't got one,
they're not bad, those little bullets.
No. You keep them in your handbag, so you can have a wank at work.
Yeah. Or you just get the old love eggs, just pop them in remote control. We always had this idea. We wanted to, back in my single days, we wanted to get a bunch of men and a bunch of women all out together for the night. And all the ladies pop in some love eggs, and you have basically like the keys in the bowl, but with the remote controls. So you could be sitting there and each person has a control and you don't know who it's for.
Yeah.
So you could be sitting there and like one person going beep beep and women like whoop, bouncing up and down all along the table.
I think we need to have one of those parties at some point.
That would be so funny.
Definitely needs to happen.
But so I remember obviously the wood wank that never happened. But the day that something where obviously things have changed down there, tubes have linked to where they're supposed to be coming from. And then you're like, oh, actually, this is I say,
really good.
Yeah, hallelujah. And from then on, it was just a religious,
constant wanking.
pretty much.
Yeah.
I think that is, to be honest. Oh, hang on, we've got what's the chat there? I'm sure it's possible for a woman, but sure depends on your. Hang on, Lisa, I'm gonna make an extra screen because all your chats are hiding behind a light at the moment. Ooh. So I'm gonna put. Oh, no, that's not what I want. Ooh,
I'm sure it's possible for women, but sure depends on your job.
Yeah. You don't want to be doing it, say, for example, if you're trying to put out a fire.
No. I mean, no.
Depends on the fireman you're working with.
Yeah, I work in an office and I've never been so, that's a lie, I have been horny enough to be like, I need to do it right now. But then I realised, remember where I am, and the only option would be like a skanky toilet. Which is no doubt next to a man's toilet where they're having a leak or in a poo. Oh. And you're like, it's just not.
That's what I think one of the. Obviously, you can generalise about the fundamental differences between men and women, but there is definitely an argument for women needing to be far more mentally turned on than men. Men who could probably be in the middle of a pitched battle and be like, oh, I fancy a quick tug.
Hold it.
Yeah. Or don't. keep going, lads.
Well, if you lose your sword, just saying.
Indeed. But yes, I think I must have been probably. Yeah, it must have been about 12 or 13, I think, when that started happening.
From the sound of things.
And from then on, it was things like sneaking hold of the occasional adult movie, going through basically Kay's catalogue. Because don't forget, ladies and gents, it's back in the day when porn wasn't readily available on the internet. So Kay's catalogue, finding the underwear section, and way, that's me. Yeah. And because I liked drawing, so I'd try and replicate drawing these women, but without their pants on. Ooh. Yeah, so you had to get a little bit more creative back then.
Yeah, I bet you did.
But yeah, so that was, and then you had obviously Basic Instincts, using the pause button as much as you possibly could. It's not there.
Ironically, eventually stuck down.
Yes. But then, like you, I didn't have my first kiss was probably about 17 or 18. Because I don't know about you, but when you get to that kind of the pubic stage where you're at secondary school, and so I was absolutely terrified of women. I'd had women come on to me. I'd sort of tried to have girlfriends, but just was really crap and just ruined everything. Or one girl I was going out with for about a day, and all my mates took the piss out of me, so I basically told her to fuck off because I couldn't handle being taken, all that wonderful shit of being at school. Was it, seems I've heard of it. I recall many moons ago, James, we had the porn fairy that left the mags in the woods with the glued together pages. See, I don't think I ever found
I've heard about
one.
this. I've heard about there being random bits in the woods where men leave porn magazines and they, escape the wife, go have a wank in the woods.
Oh, so now you've just got every porn mag you can imagine on a mobile device.
Yeah, you can do it in the back of your car. But also, I love the idea of going out into the woods, having a wank, or finding a body, and then having to explain to the police.
How did you come across?
What are you doing out here, Mr. Carrington?
How did you come across this body? By accident, I assure you.
From a distance.
Yeah.
What a story for the kids. Kids don't get that nowadays, do they? They're having a wank in my room.
Yeah, boring.
Get an imagination.
Yeah, I remember my first kiss at a party, and it was actually a friend of mine, and we just got onto the subject and talking about it. And I said I'd never sort of French kissed someone. And she was like, you can French kiss me if you want. And as soon as she said that, I literally went into shock. I was literally shaking. And it's so bizarre and this is one of the things I think I want to talk about, once you actually, the amount of pressure that you put on yourself. Because I think as a young man, sex, when you haven't had sex, is like the almost unattainable.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and it's just the pressure of any act that you haven't done before, and you're like, oh my god, and you just literally have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, my first kiss was greatly anticipated. So I went to university, moved in with 13 other people in first year, and developed a crush on one of them. And then it became a bit like high school. It was like, oh, I've told him that you like him and he likes you, and then you're like, and then it was one quiz night. We were going to pub quiz, sorry. Quiz night. And they were like, get back in your room, he's going to come and ask you out. And I'd literally just locked my dorm room and I was like, oh shit, I've got to get back in. So I went to go back, and then I just sat at my desk chair like no one ever does, waiting to go out. I was like, just sit here, shitting myself. And there's a knock at my door, and then he comes in and he's like, oh, just wondering if you'd like to go out sometime.
Yes!
And I was like,
yes.
I had no idea. Okay. And then we were getting up to leave, and then he just like, I think he was obviously as nervous as me, and he just like planted a kiss on my face. And I was like, oh, that was my first kiss. Okay, job done. It's horrifically unromantic, but they always are, aren't they?
Down to business.
Down to business. I'm going to kiss you now, and then we're going to go and lose the pub quiz.
And things will never be the same again.
No. I was broken from that day onwards.
I did have the one, again, I've told this on the stream, but for people who didn't hear it, the one where one of my sister's friends, two of my sister's friends fancied me. Again, no idea why.
Bragging. All the ladies love me.
Oh God, if you'd seen pictures. You think this looks weird.
I have seen pictures, Mike.
Oh yeah, true. It was the worst kind of weird. One of them, while my sister was in the shower, she came into my room wearing basically a see-through nightie and see-through underwear, sitting on my bed, rubbing her legs, or her rubbing her legs. Do you know what I did?
Ran away?
I spent the next half an hour chatting to her. Yes.
Curse of the nice guy.
Yep. And then the other time, one of her other friends had got drunk and run off down a road, so I had to go and find her. I found her. She sort of got all close up to me and said, "Oh, I really like you." Do you know what I said?
Oh, thank you.
I really like me too.
Classic Han Solo. I love you.
I know. I love you. Can't blame you.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, so not my finest moments back in those days.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like getting very deep very early on, but I've only just started respecting people that find me attractive. It was a fundamental flaw in every relationship I've had to date, where I start liking someone, I'm like, we get on quite well. And then I start thinking about, they find me attractive and they might potentially want to have sex with me. They're clearly wrong in the head. So I'm just going to leave. Bye-bye. And run away.
That's the equivalent of a musician going, look, I've written this album. If you like it, you're a twat.
Yeah. Do not release this on my behalf.
Don't listen to this. I'll tell you, what I want you to do is burn it, use it as a frisbee or a drinks coaster.
Yeah. It's the only good use for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I understand that it's that complete insecurity, and just because I think the one thing, I remember this from being at school, whereas as you get older, you kind of, after you take a couple of knockbacks and everything, yeah, it can be a bit of a shitter, but you accept it and move on. At school, you get turned down after summoning 20 years worth in probably a week. So 20 years worth of courage to ask someone out, and they say no. And then you're either going to get all your mates take the piss out of you relentlessly for what feels an eternity, or you just, again, crumble into nothing and just go home, cry, pine, write some bad poetry.
Yep. Write an album.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, use it for your inspiration for your entire music career.
Adele.
Get over it, girl, for God's sake. But yeah, so I can completely get that, where you just, the fact that someone likes you is almost too good to be true. So the absolute fear and horror of this could go wrong, probably will go wrong because I'm going to drive them away. So therefore, I'm just going to push them away now.
Yeah.
It's just easier.
Save it coming later down the road. Yeah, job done. Get out of the way.
So how old were you virginity time?
Well, so this first boyfriend, that was when I was 18. I actually lost my virginity when I was 24.
Don't ask me, I wasn't there.
I think I was there. But no, the first boyfriend kind of put me on the back foot for sex for a long while, in that we kissed stuff and like we had the occasional like, you know, make out sesh. And it would never really go further than that. Apart from every night, we obviously all lived in a flat the first year, and I'd go to bed because he was like a night owl, so we'd stay up to 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever. And I'd go and say goodnight, you know, goodnight kiss. And pretty much every night for the 3 or 4 months we dated, he would try and force his way into my room. And I would have to use my entire body weight to close the door on him. And you know, he was a little guy, apparently harmless, and it was never explicit what he wanted to do at that point. But yeah, that just became. And every night I then dread it. Like, do I just not say goodnight to him? Do I just go to bed?
Was he drunk or anything, or
no,
was
this
is just what he did?
Just what he did. And we never had a conversation about it until we had one evening in where we were watching a film in his room, and I think I had a friend going through some shit, so I was messaging her on my phone, and he hid my phone in his wardrobe.
Right.
And then proceeded to throw a paddy when I tried to get it off him at the end of the night. We also then went away I visited his family home, that was it, that was the first night. Stayed in his parents' house. And we'd watched some horror films, we went out to bed, and things started happening. I was like, this is it, I feel like I'm ready. It didn't go to a great start when he said, this is when you take your clothes off.
Okay.
This is romantic.
Yeah.
And then he kept going, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And I just went, no. And he stopped.
Well, that's a plus.
That's a plus. And then he just...
No does mean no, after all, everybody.
No, yeah. And yeah, he rolled over and went to sleep, didn't talk about it again, until we went away a few weeks later to his grandparents' caravan in Lowestoft. And we were kind of going to bed, and I was like, maybe something will happen. And he was chatting, and he went, you know, I would have tried something tonight, but because of your no sex rule. It's like, I don't have a no sex rule. We've not discussed sex. Like, you've tried it pretty much every night. We almost got there once. It was weird. So now you're just not going to try again. Okay, fine. But I had in my head then that every time we were going to be alone together, he was going to try and force something from all of the history stuff. And then, yeah, it was just a very confusing introduction to being in a relationship.
Yeah.
And then it pretty much went downhill from then, and I broke up with him.
Definitely yes. A wise move.
Yeah, but that, for want of a better word, damaged my concept of how men saw me and how sex was in a relationship. That it was kind of a given, and it was almost an entitlement. You know, I'm a boy, I've got a girlfriend now, we live together in the same flat, we're at university, we should be having sex all the time. But no addressing of this issue. You know, if I was him and my girlfriend was forcing me out of her room every night, I'd be like, why is she doing that? What signals am I giving off that she's not enjoying?
Yeah.
But, yeah, nothing.
It's scary how many... Amanda said, sorry, you've had that traumatic experience.
Oh, thank you, Bav.
It's really shit that so many women... Because the majority of my life, most of my friends have been women. They always have been. I've always had far more female friends. And the amount of stories that are basically along those same lines of... You can understand when they say a lot of women... Like, for a woman's first time, usually... I think it is more sacred and special than a man's. Yeah. Because, to be honest, for an adolescent teenager, if somebody's mum just said, come here, I'm going to show you how it's done, and then basically just obliterated them.
Yeah.
That to them is like the ultimate dream.
Legend status.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who it is. But for a woman, I think there's a lot more involved there, and it's very, very easy to, as you said, you've experienced, to damage someone mentally with a bad experience very early on. So it's yeah.
And I didn't realise how, at the time I didn't clock that it was damaging. I was like, I don't like it. It doesn't make me happy. But then when it came to I didn't date basically from then until long after I'd graduated. But in my head, like, a guy would ask me for coffee and I'd be like, I mean, go for coffee, but then he's going to expect sex. I can't just meet someone for a first date without it being more. And I really struggled to get over that, and this idea that, you know, that there wasn't a build up to that. You know, relationships now, some people meet, they have sex straight away, fine. Some people meet, I take a while to get used to someone, and, you know, you kind of fall into it naturally, and then you end up, you know, eventually living together. But in my head it went, meeting someone first date, they are entitled to sex.
Yeah, that's not good, is it?
No. So I had a lot of like false starts of sort of, I'd arrange a date and I'd be like, no. Okay, no, I don't want to do it. For years.
So how did that affect you, as in within yourself? Was the idea of sex still something that appealed to you, or to you had it that kind of tainted the idea?
There was very separate views of it in my mind, in that there was the concept of sex and being in a relationship and having sex with someone, which I wanted. You know, I wanted someone, you know, you go out, you just want that. It's nothing to do with like, I just want to have sex and, you know, enjoy the pleasure. It was, you know, the companionship kind of thing. But I think that I really put a blocker on what the enjoyment of sex could be. I couldn't get past the thought of, if I met someone, there was so much baggage there about the conflict that could come from not wanting to have sex with them. Yeah. To allow me to go, it'd be quite nice to have sex with them. You know, I think they're quite attractive, you know, I like them, it'd be good fun. There was never that connection. Sex to me was traumatic. The thought of someone wanting to have sex or being in a position where it was maybe the next step was like, no.
I kind of developed something like that a bit later on that we'll probably come to. Because I mean, I'd say I was useless with women all the way through my teenage years, and I was incredibly nervous. I did not know. I had such a fear of rejection, and it would literally have taken a woman to come up to me and say, "I want to have sex with you." I am not gonna. This isn't a game. This isn't me just pissing you around.
It's not a camera show.
Yeah, exactly. Jeremy Beadle isn't going to come out of his little hand and creep you out. And it took, when I actually lost my virginity, she won't be watching, but she is on my friends list. And thank God for her patience, because say we were friends at school. We kind of got together, and she knew I was a virgin and everything. And she had, I can't thank her enough for this, because she had unlimited patience.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and again, even when we were sort of starting to do stuff and I was still completely inexperienced, had no idea what I was doing, she was really supportive. But even then, I was so scared to actually sort of mention that, shall we move to the next step and have sex? And she said once, if you ask me, I am not going to say no. But even then, I was really still just that thought. And like a lot of men, I think probably on your first time, you're almost impotent with fear. So you're just so... Again, I was just shaking. We just about managed to get through it by the grace of God. But, I mean, the thing, we didn't stay together for long afterwards. She said, you know, I really like my friend back. It sort of made things a little bit awkward. So we both decided to go back to being friends, and we'd slept together a couple of times. And I was absolutely shockingly awful. As you know, I've got no pride regarding that. It's just the truth. And after that, on a New Year's Eve party as well, I slept. So I'd gone literally all this time, and then I think in the space of 3 months, I'd slept with 3 different women. But all of them, I was terrible.
Okay.
So the one on Millennium Eve, I was just getting over the flu, and I felt like absolute shit. And a friend came into... She'd gone off into the bedroom, and her friend came in and says, "Oh, so-and-so wants to speak to you in there." So I go in there. She's in bed in the nude, gets me to get in, and it basically comprised of me, a folding wet spaghetti moment. Yeah, so nervous, felt like shit.
I think you can be forgiven.
Yeah, so again, not my finest moment. But and after that, I met one of my girlfriends, and then from then on, actually had a proper regular sex life. But when you look back, and it's weird how later on again that nervousness played a part in my later life as well. Because it's skipping ahead a bit. But when I went through a phase where after some sort of breakups, and I thought, you know what, I don't want to be in another relationship. There's too much can go wrong. There's too much emotional upset. You know, it wasn't working. I'm just better on my own. And I went through a stage of just having, you know, casual relationships or sleeping with friends and various things. But what I found ended up happening, and I think this probably happens to a lot of people and they just don't admit it, is you end up, if you're sleeping casually with people, if you're doing it like in a one-night stand or something like that, you end up putting immense amounts of pressure on yourself to perform.
Yes. You've got one chance.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And if you don't perform that chance, basically they could tell all their friends that you were shit and everything. And I ended up having a fear of sex.
Yeah.
And what would happen is I'd get to situations where it was time for sexy time. And I do the old, what's his name from Friends? The Joey thing where he had to be abstinent. He's going, no, I want to do something for you. And we're just it was cunnilingus. That's all. So you're a really giving person. Yep. That's because I'm terrified of sex.
I mean, from a woman's perspective, there are worse ways for men to face their fears. That's fine.
True.
That's what you got to do. I mean, I had the same for the other, like the reverse. I mean, when I lost my virginity, it was to someone that I'd met on Tinder. They were not very nice. So we went out on a few dates. I then went away with my family for 2 weeks. And I took his constant messaging and wanting to see me in my swimming costume and wanting to know what I was up to as, oh, it's cute, he's interested in my life. And, you know, that, when you're coming home, you know, oh, he's excited to see me, that's cute. To then kind of, I came home a few days earlier than my family, he came straight round, we had sex. I'd officially been deflowered, as my friends would put it. But during that, I also given my first blowjob, about which I was terrified, more than the sex.
It's quite an intimidating thing with that thing looking at you.
Yeah, and I remember he stopped me halfway through, and I now realise that that's quite a normal thing. Like, my mind doesn't want to finish like that, so he'll just, you know, move on to something else.
Well,
like if you haven't, you know, you're having
that's
sex.
That's a great time to finish.
Yeah, but if you want to do other things...
yeah, true.
But in my head, I was like, I'm doing a bad job.
Oh.
And that was, honestly, it was in my head, and that has, until very recently, has been a real problem for me, and I've just avoided doing it.
Really?
Yeah. Because I was like, I don't want to be shit at it. So it's a bit, you know, the exact flip side of yours, that the sex is easy because you can just lay there.
Yeah, that's back when you didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Basically, when you actually start caring and you do want to do a good job.
Yes.
Then you end up putting immense amount of pressure on yourself. And especially from back in the days where the female anatomy was still a mystery. So you remember those days of thinking you're performing magnificently while you're down there, and she's basically got the magazine out and just flicking through and just tell me when you're done.
Yeah.
But it's not, again, I think for men, they would like nothing more. And I remember this. If someone could have almost given me a book of painting by numbers for cunnilingus or something, I would have been a very happy boy. But they just want a woman to say, I like that. Mm-hmm. Don't do all this sort of, don't, please, ladies out there, if you've got a man who isn't doing a very good job, don't let him flounder around. Instruct him to what you like. This is one of the things they do say, actually, when it comes to sex therapy and things like that. Communicate with your partner. Because if your partner's doing things, they want to please you. Hopefully. That would be nice.
And if they're nervous like me and they just want to be told what to do.
Yeah, it's just...
In a completely dominatrix way, but like, oh, you know, do this. Okay, I'll do that. You know, I want to do it. I wouldn't have thought to do it. I don't mind doing it, but I'll do it. You know, try something new.
Yeah, so for a man, faster, but no, slow down. Around.
Do not stop doing that exact thing.
Yeah. Keep going, lad. Do not let wild horses pull you away.
Yeah.
So if we could have had that kind of thing, but again, people just don't, especially sort of in that sort of young age, there just isn't that form of communication. And I don't know what it's like now because, say, sex is a lot more prevalent on the internet.
Yeah.
And,
Sexy.
no, that's part of my charm. Carry that with me since my younger days. But I think also because obviously with porn and very aggressive porn and thing, it's changing people's perceptions of sex now, isn't it? And there's a big problem brewing around all that kind of area. But yeah, God, just some guidance. And I think it's really cool if you can, when you're young, if there's kind of two of you who are young and innocent and you're learning together and you're experimenting, it's all very fairy tale and it very rarely happens.
I think personally, that's come with, I think everyone dreams of their first time being with someone that's equally inexperienced and you can learn it together, or with someone that's more experienced but also caring with it and knows that you don't know what you're doing. I mean, on my level, I was very completely inexperienced, and I had someone that knew I wasn't, but just kind of wanted to get his johnnies off, because then we had sex, and then the communication just it went quiet. Then had the gall to be upset when I called him out on it. It was like, well, we've had sex and now you better talk to me, so bye bye. He was like, how dare you say that? So in my head I was like, we had sex this one time, I didn't think I did a very good job, and then he stopped talking to me. Ergo,
you're going to...
I'm shit at sex.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that again, I mean, as an inexperienced person, the whole blowjob thing was a thing, but also I was like, well, maybe that's just the only thing, because as a woman, if you want to, you can just do the bare minimum. This is what I was telling myself. And that then hung around, so then I didn't have sex for a really long time.
It's understandable. And the things with this kind of thing, it just cascades, doesn't it? It just builds and builds, and all the pressures. And I remember what it just felt like for me. It was just, I would have to get really, really comfortable with somebody and not just go straight in for sex, but do all the things that lead up to it, which is, to be honest, is so much nicer anyway.
Oh, yeah.
When you get to know each other's bodies, and you do all the things, the playing around, experiencing all this before you have sex, which is great. But then as soon as you'd come to anything that was just more straight involved sex, for me, there's like times that I was actually sitting with women who I really liked and I really fancied, and it just did not happen because I'd put so much pressure on myself. And it's just such an unhealthy thing. Manna says, been there, Charlotte, feels shit at the time. Well, there's a... I don't know if this is just men. I mean, again, stereotyping. I don't know if it's predominantly men. But there are those men who do... It's the thrill of the chase, isn't it?
Yep.
All the enthusiasm is there while they're trying to basically get in your pants. They get in your pants. They promise you the world. They tell you all the things you want to hear, make you feel incredibly special. And then they sleep with you, and then the classic line is, oh, that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just the biggest... So anyone out there who gets that line, it's the biggest load of bullshit you've ever heard in your life.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have done that.
Shouldn't have done that. Okay, that is the quickest way that you can just ruin someone's mental state by saying something like that. And it's all just... a game to them. It's an ego boost. It's nothing more. And it's so sad, and it's so destructive as well. It's horrible.
It's and then I found myself making excuses as I grew out of it, and making excuses for being like, oh, maybe he didn't go that distant, maybe I was just being really sensitive about it. Because I never, apart from the first boyfriend, this was the first relationship I've been in, and I was like, what happens after you've had sex? Does it get less intense? Does the conversation stop? Does someone want to, is the excitement not there anymore? It was almost like we went building up, and then married couple. Like there was no flirting, no interest in seeing each other again. It was
building up, and Scrabble on Sundays.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now I'm in a healthy relationship. I know that is not the case, but it's taken me, however, like 5 years now of slightly iffy relationships, and the similar things happening again to be like, are men the worst, or am I just being overly sensitive about these things.
No, there are a lot of...
That is to say, not all men are the worst, but just the men I happen to date.
Yeah, no, I've seen from a lot of my female friends various horror stories of men just absolutely destroying their confidence, and it can be through cheating, or it can just be very bigoted attitudes towards women's sex.
Yeah,
and a lot of them. I mean, God, I've known a friend of mine, someone I slept with a while ago. Well, quite a long while ago now, because I've been in a relationship for 6 years. And she was telling me about sleeping with a guy who, again, there's certain things that I find really... I know everyone's got their kinks, which is something we really hope to cover with various people on this subject, because they are very interesting. And a lot of people...
really
everybody has them to some degree, but a lot of people aren't comfortable talking about them. But this guy was that kind of, talk dirty to me, basically because he couldn't be aroused unless someone was talking dirty to him.
Okay.
Yeah, things like that. That's not really going to make someone feel great, is it?
No. I mean, especially if you... I wouldn't even know where to start talking dirty.
I did have someone talk dirty to me and it actually killed it for me. Because I can't take that shit seriously.
Yeah.
I find it more arousing actually having a laugh during sex, and just I used to confuse arrogance with confidence in men when I was younger. It led me to... I think this is a massive problem. It's, you see guys who've got all the gift of the gab and you think, oh wow, they must be, that confidence is just so attractive. So no, they're just a massive bell end.
With a tiny willy.
You hope so. Because otherwise, if they are a massive bell end with a massive bell end, there's no justice in the world.
No, it's not fair. I mean, some of the nicest guys I've met are very confident in themselves, in that they know what they want to do, what they like doing, and, you know, who they are as a person. But, you know, they're shy. They don't like crowds. They don't like attention, whatever. Which is the difference, I think. If you meet someone that's, like Bav said, arrogant, beyond confidence, to me, massive turn off.
I find arrogance in women who think they are all that. I find it absolutely repulsive. It's just a bit of humbleness is a wonderful thing. Yeah. And you can be comfortable in yourself. You can maybe like how you look, but if you literally think, I am the bomb, and I'm like,
like me, ages 11 to 16.
Oh, yeah.
Even though I was about 15 stone and I dressed like a teaching assistant. I was like, I am God's gift to men.
My sister dressed exactly the same. She went through, what is it, Anastasia Krupnik? Oh, you're probably yeah, so the big glasses and basically Sarah, if you are watching, Sarah combined that with a kind of bob and a really knitted cardigan. So she sort of looked like a menopausal author. Yeah,
that was very much my...
About age 14.
Yeah, like non-school uniform days was like, I'm going to wear jeans and a baggy oatmeal jumper with some pink trainers because I got them from Tammy Girl and I think I'm really cool. And I'm walking around school like, there's a sixth form boy over there looking at me. He's clearly checking me out. And then I look back at photos and I'm like, what the fuck were you thinking, Charlotte? Firstly, it would have been illegal on many counts. Secondly, you looked a state.
Instant arrest by the fashion police.
Yeah. And yeah, I think it's probably just as well that confidence didn't translate into adulthood. Because, I mean, I'm pretty insufferable generally, but I would have been even worse.
I found, because I think I've talked about this as well. I think everyone's probably seen pictures of me when I was a teenager and I had these horrendous gelled curtains. I looked like the worst kind of Backstreet Boys rip-off you could imagine. Yeah. But I went through my teenage years like a massive paranoia phase where I had no confidence. I thought people were taking the piss out of me all the time because I was bullied at school. So you go into the real world thinking that people are going to do the same when you actually realise that as soon as you get into the adult world, people have got far more important things to be getting on with and worrying about than you. Yeah. So I started losing my hair quite early, probably about 17, 18. And it was the weirdest thing. Once I shaved all my hair off, my confidence just suddenly went boing.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't have to... It was one of those things that was really holding me back. I was so paranoid about it and everything had to be completely symmetrical and it was so pathetic. And once it was off, it was like, I'm free. I don't have to worry about that anymore. Hooray!
Hooray!
It's like a guy with a micro penis, like getting an operation and suddenly having a normal sized penis. It's like, oh, this is the best day of my life.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Finally got a proper dong.
So, and that's not a judgment on micro penises.
No, not at all.
They've,
it's not about the size, it's what you do with it. Motion in the ocean?
We could talk about the trueness of that.
I'm trying to think of the variety that I mean, from a woman's perspective, I think some men like to think, I've got a massive willy. Women love that shit. But if I saw one that was too big, if anyone's seen Sex Life on Netflix, you will know the scene I'm referring to. But this man has a willy that is literally a foot long, flaccid.
Oh, there's
and it's real.
I can't remember the name of him. If anyone can look up who the guy, he's quite a tubby chap, sort of a mop of brownish hair. I can't remember his name, but if you can quickly Google, I think he has the biggest willy. I think it's like a 13-inch willy or something like that. I can't remember his name.
If that was coming at me, excuse the pun, I would run a mile before I was unable to run a mile.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of porn in my time, and I've seen porn. There's a black guy with an insanely huge penis, and it is about the most unerotic thing I've ever seen. Literally, this woman, the look of sheer concentration on her face, just laying kind of sort of, she's just laying sort of on her back, and he's just sort of there, just. But he's got about that much of it in, and she's kind of like. Well, he's just like, okay, being gentle. This is like, I'm like, okay, this is not the most erotic thing I've ever seen.
It's not. I mean, size, I think I've had a variety, I've not had many, but a variety of sizes. And it all comes down to the guy it's attached to. If they know what they're doing with it and they've, or, you actually like them and you're enjoying yourself.
Oh, yeah, it does make a massive
difference.
difference.
Don't think about it. You don't, it's... And it's also so little of it is actually, I'm finding my current situation is not all about the penetration.
No, there's so much more to it.
There's so much more to do. When you're in and I'm saying this as an adult, but only really just getting into a proper, relationship, that there's so much more to do when you enjoy it, and it's not all about that, and it's about the bonding and about the enjoyment of it, rather than it just being, that fairy tale, two people that are in a relationship go to bed, they have sex in the missionary position and they go to bed. That's...
Well, yeah, there's this huge, vast world in sex to explore. And the thing is, from sleeping with various people that I have done, and this is one of the reasons I used to like sleeping with friends, because I already had a connection with them. Yeah. And if you're both cool with that and you can not let it affect your friendship, it did add an extra layer to your friendship, even when you stop sleeping together, because you've experienced that together. It created a certain bond and a certain closeness, which is, in my eyes, in any friendship, is generally a good thing. If you've experienced things together, it doesn't have to be sex. It can be places you've been. It can be any sort of experience. If it deepens the quality of your friendship, is great. And you used to find that with some friends, you would just click, and you would just have a really good sexual chemistry. Everything would flow very naturally together. Other people, it might be slightly different. It might be at the start, it's a little bit awkward. You're finding your feet together, and then now it's. Yeah. I think one of the biggest damaging things, and I see this in magazines and things that tell women you should be having sex at least 50 million times a day, and if you don't orgasm at least 100 times in every time you have sex, then you're a failure as a woman. Every time you have sex is different. Yeah. When you actually look at the logistics of what goes on in the human body, you're going to have times where you're more sensitive, when it could be something even really silly, like if you have sex when you really need a wee. Yeah. It can just suddenly change and make it more heightened.
Apparently it's meant to make it feel better.
It can do. Yeah. Just make sure you hold on. Yeah. Unless you're into that kind of thing.
Well, that's another show.
The Golden Shower Stream.
Golden Stream. Golden Streaming with Mike. You can have that one.
Thank you. But yeah, the preconceptions of sex, I think, is also one of the big damaging things about it. Like when you were talking about, again, I know a lot of women talk about when it's like the size of a man's penis. Now, I think for most women, a man's got to have a certain size that's good, because let's be frank, there are certain points and spots that when you're having sex you want to be able to hit.
Yes.
If you can't hit them, then you're going to have to find other inventive means to do it.
But it is not impossible.
No, it is not impossible. You can be 2'2" and still score a basket.
Faux show.
Yes, but I can understand why, like, men have a complex about that kind of thing. I've known women be quite harsh to some men and joke about their penis size and things behind their back and stuff like that, and it can be a really, really damaging thing.
It's almost the equivalent of, not quite the same, but women and their boobs. Some women are really paranoid about their boob size, either too big, too small, and they think that men care, and if a man cares, he's a twat. Because they don't serve any.
You say that. The thing is,
I've never understood breasts. I have never understood men's fascination with them.
Why do they like these sacks of
I'm
fat?
like, I have them. I don't have a baby to feed with them, and I don't get the attraction.
It's a jiggly thing.
Okay.
I think mainly, but then you've got, again, different preferences.
Yeah.
Now, this is one of the things that when we talk about sex, I think is a very big misconception, because, again, having watched porn for many years and being a bit of a connoisseur, the one thing you learn about people sort of think, oh yeah, but porn is just this, it's that, it's big-titted fake women screaming and all this kind of stuff. When you actually, it sounds really weird, when you look at the viewer count on various videos, you realise that human beings have a very diverse interest in sex.
Yeah.
Some people like younger girls with no boobs, some men like older women with very big boobs, everything in between.
Yeah.
All different colours, shapes, sizes. There is something out there for everyone, and a lot of people don't understand this.
Yeah. I think you can kind of sum it up with something I've been told in therapy is that you can't guess or assume anyone else's thoughts or emotions or preferences.
No.
You meet someone in the street, if you've got a self-confidence issue, you're going to go, I don't look like Kim Kardashian. He clearly must find Kim Kardashian attractive because most people apparently do. Therefore, I'm a failure. I'm not. Nothing's going to happen. And it's the same with, if anyone suffers with anxiety, they'll know this, that you can't tell someone's emotions from the way they're thinking because they're different to you.
Yeah.
And it's very easy.
But we project, don't we? That's the problem.
Yeah. And things thoughts that have got me through, and that I don't find everyone attractive.
No.
So why would everyone find me attractive?
This is one of the things that used to really annoy me about when and I feel sorry for anybody who's gay who has been through this. When, like, if you've got a gay friend, oh, I've got a gay friend too, we should get them together. Yeah. Like, every gay man is just going to see another gay man and go, oh my God, you're the best.
It's not the 50s anymore. There's not just like 10 gay men that have to get together. Yeah,
exactly. It's just the notion of it is just so ridiculous. Yeah. But
I agree, Bav. The breast, it's probably hang everything from being a baby. Yeah, I think there's an evolutionary point in that, I can go in really boring in detail about evolution, and
why not?
Men are attracted to women. Women are attracted to different kinds of men depending on where they are in their cycle. If they're ovulating, they're attracted to like the sexy rough man,
Jason Momoa types.
Yeah, who's going to impregnate them and give them a baby.
Yeah.
But for the rest of it, when they just want to be cuddled, they're like, oh, dad bod will do.
Okay, so let's pick a period of each time of the month where this celebrity will be most appealing. Okay, we're going to go for the top ones. So we've got Tom Hiddleston is definitely up there. We'd all like Tom Hiddleston to be up there.
I'm just going to slide off this chair.
So we've got the Hiddleston. Are you a Jason Momoa fan? No. Okay, list your top three who are all a bit different. So we know Hiddleston's there.
Hiddleston. Tom Hardy.
Yeah, he's on every woman's list.
He's on everyone's list. I've got some really niche ones like Alan Rickman. God rest his soul.
Yeah, but what a guy.
Oh, Snape.
Potter.
Who else? I'm trying to think if I've got any like really rough. What's
his name who played Thor? Hemsworth. No?
Too pretty.
Oh, fair enough.
Too pretty. Hiddleston is because he's refined and just beautiful and very posh and very adorable, and I just want to hug him and do other things to him. Read into that what you will. Tom Hardy because, again, he likes dogs. Maybe I'm just attracted to personality. Maybe
possibly. But so when would you be in it? Like I say, when during your monthly routine would you be in a Hiddleston mode, or is that just all the way through the month?
I think if I was really just before you have the painters and decorators in, Aunt Flo arrives, super horny. Most women are like, I need to have sex right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't know him, but I feel like Tom Hardy would be the one to come on round, Tom. You've got half an hour.
Surf the crimson tide.
Yeah. But then Tom Hiddleston, I feel, would be the one that would, be really lovely and caring and make me dinner first and, brush my hair. Am I his dog? I'm really confused about this relationship now.
Fiery claws.
But yeah, take me on a walk, pick up my shit. No, it's a
Clean my
relationship.
poo up in the garden.
Yeah, I think of the two, stereotypically, it'd be like Tom Hiddleston is the boyfriend, Tom Hardy is the, ride me like a stolen bike.
Ride me like a penny farthing.
Ride me like you stole me.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I know a lot of people. This is one of the things we've progressed as human beings. We like to think we're far more better than our primal urges, and this is something that me and Carrie have talked about. Because I'm incredibly honest with Carrie about what goes on in the male mind, and I've spoken to some friends of that, and they're like, I'd never tell my partner that because they're embarrassed. It would probably cause upset.
Yeah.
Because not everyone can handle what really goes on in people's heads. And we've known people, someone Carrie knows, who said, I never look at porn, I never look at, put all this huge kind of thing about, no, I'm just a one woman. And then she saw his phone, there's loads of pictures of women. Oh, well, that's nothing. Again, so it's like, what would you be more worried about? Someone who keeps it from you or someone who is just honest about it?
Yeah. I mean, I person I'm with at the moment, he has a very, very definite crush on Michelle Pfeiffer. And I think past me would have been deeply undermined by that, being like, I'm never going to be as beautiful as Michelle Pfeiffer. She's amazing. Like, I'm never going to be a film star. Oh, he's never going to love me. Run away. But we joke about it and we're like, well, if she pops into town, I'd let you. She's on your list. You can go off.
Oh, that's very kind of you.
Yeah. I mean, reality, I'm probably really pissed off. But
yeah.
I think honesty is really important because, and I know I suffer from anxiety and paranoia and all this, and if the person you're with knows that too, and they also do, the upset caused by being honest is almost certainly less than the upset caused by your own sort of images in your head. You could think about a conversation that you don't want to have and it could go really badly and you end up breaking up and you never see each other again and you're never happy. Or you could just be like, I was thinking this, or did you mean that when you said that, or blah, blah, blah. Have a discussion, problem solved.
Yeah.
It's, and bringing it back to sex, you don't want to, if you're going to be in a relationship with someone, especially in the early days, you don't want to set precedents now of not talking or, doing something you don't want to do because the other person likes it, that you could ultimately be stuck with for ever. For, as in your head, it's a little thing for the rest of the good stuff. And then you just end up, they all build up.
Well, the thing is, in any relationship, you've got to have, there is no right or wrong in a relationship. It's what the two people allow to exist between them. So some people can have multiple partners, some people are happy with that, some people have kinks, they get other people involved, whatever floats your boat and works together. Yeah. But it's, I think not a lot of couples that I know will be truly deep down honest because, again, some things are just too hard to hear.
Yeah.
And also I think people, again, like to think they're better than they actually are. Again, and one of the reasons for doing this is the ability to talk about it, because people thinking this is bad or wrong, when actually you thinking that is probably a perfectly natural biological impulse. So the whole men's psychology about sowing the seed and spreading your seed far and wide. That is a genetic primordial thing that has existed for thousands of years. You can pretend that men... This is the thing. We all get impulses. We all get urges. It's what you do about them that counts, and how you conduct yourself. You know, we're all animals, but we have a choice in what we do. And I've known like women who talk about the idea that said, "Oh, my boyfriend looked at porn and I was really upset." And I said, "Okay, do you read fiction?" "Well, yes." "So have you ever read erotic literature?" "Yeah." "Okay, have you ever got turned on by reading that?" "Well, yeah, but that's different." "Okay, right. Now let's break it down to its fundamental core. Watching porn, okay, you are being visually stimulated, or it's a fantasy thing about somebody who isn't your partner, but you're getting turned on by some kind of sensory input. Now, reading erotic literature, you are probably placing yourself either in that scenario or you are being turned on by what you are reading.
Yep.
What is the difference? That's the thing. It's still... But again, people like to think, "Oh, this is classier than this is classier than that." It's like, just be honest about it. You know, we all have fantasies. We all fantasize about things. It's whether you would do anything about it that's the big difference. Yeah. And I just think people can't... You can't handle the truth.
I pity the fool. Is that the same guy?
No, not at all. Mine was Jack Nicholson. Yours was...
Mr. T.
Worlds apart.
Same difference.
I was going to go with that. So how do you find it now? Sort of, do you feel that sort of, is there... Well, it's difficult to say in a new relationship, isn't it? Is there sort of anything that you wouldn't talk about? Or do you feel at the start it's a good precedent to sort of be as open and honest about everything as much as possible?
I think for the most part, we are both very honest with each other about where our heads are at with general stuff. You know, we've both got anxiety and depression and things like that. So there's a precedent there for honesty. And I think if there was any issues relating to sex, that I would be comfortable enough discussing them with him, because I've discussed other fundamental weaknesses and worries and things.
Yeah.
So I think if you've got, and you know, I'm saying this is no means I'm not the font of all knowledge, and it's, you know, each relationship is different. But I think if you trust someone enough to tell them your deepest, darkest fears, and you also then still feel you can be vulnerable to them, you know, emotionally and sexually, there shouldn't be a problem with that, with you discussing things.
No.
But like you say, it's the impulse thing. It's, you know, there's almost a line where you're like, you can talk about your worries, your fears, your insecurities about sex, but maybe be a bit more delicate if you're talking to your partner of 10 years about bringing a third into the relationship. You're not going to be like, "Met Jenny down the pub. Do you mind if she joins us?"
It does often make you wonder, doesn't it, how people get onto talking. I've always wondered with people's kinks and things like that, how they get onto the subject, especially like a lot of people like, I had a thing years ago for sort of like burning candle wax and having sort of the stimulation of the wax hitting the skin and this sort of the pain, the quick pain then fading off, and sort of everyone has different things. But how people, when you take the chance of saying to someone, "I want you to dress as an Alsatian and bum me with a marrow," how do you broach that subject?
You just stood in Asda being like, "Darling, an idea."
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
do you think this would fit?
I wouldn't know where to start at all.
No, it's so especially like when people who are into like scat and things like that. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing worse than just during passionate lovemaking, someone just busts out some fat rhymes.
Oh God, you just join in and start singing song.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's it, baby. Bit of a bada-bo. But does someone sort of like, I don't know, go to the toilet and someone comes out, "You know what, I really wish I was that toilet." Lay a log on me, darling.
I think I mean, I've got various friends who have had similar experiences to that, and it's been their partner that's gone, do you know what I've always wanted to do, or do you know what I've tried before and really enjoyed? And the difference between, you know, a healthy and an unhealthy relationship at that point is if someone suggested it to me and I said absolutely not, they then appreciate that and respect that choice. When it becomes unhealthy is when they're like, well, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'll do it with someone else then. Or, you know, won't do what you want.
I think there has to be, in a relationship, because obviously you're two people coming from very different pasts, very different experiences. You can't there will always be some kind of sexual compromise. I think. You know, you might get some people who you could do absolutely everything in the world with, but there'll be something missing from another side of it. And you have to find that mutual respect of where, okay, we can go here with this, we can explore this with this, but this is not for me.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely fine. Like me and Carrie has more of a, I won't talk much about, you know, our personal life because it's personal to her and I appreciate that. We have sort of different, she's more of a traditionalist. And I fully respect that. You know, I would never ever dream of going down an avenue that she did not feel comfortable with because it completely defeats the object of what your intimate time together should be.
Exactly. And I mean, I know there's things that I've not tried, but boyfriend, partner, whatever, might want to try. And if I like them / love them, I'm the kind of person that's willing to try it. You know, or try anything else. But if I'd tried it before and it was absolutely a no-go, I always like to think that if I'm not comfortable saying that to someone, then I shouldn't be having sex with them.
Yes,
it's the old. If they always say, "Oh, if you can't talk about sex, you shouldn't be having sex." That was something that was very much drilled into us at school, which sounds like a very, you know, all girls. If you can't talk about sex, don't have sex kind of thing. Don't have sex, you'll get pregnant and die, kind of thing.
And God will condemn you in all of his fury.
But yeah, any relationship in any element of relationship, there's give and take. You know, you're never going to find someone that's exactly the same as you because it would be dull as fuck. And it is that, you know, it's the equal levels of respect and wanting to make each other happy and enjoy each other when you find that compromise. And if you're with someone and they suggest something, it's up to you how you respond, but you have to balance your response with the person you're in a relationship with. That
brings to a point of actually something I heard on a podcast I was listening to, and they were talking about the fact that there was a man and I think it was to do with he liked giving his girlfriend anal. And she'd always gone along with it, but she finally come out and actually said to him, you know what, I don't really enjoy this. And it sort of really floored him. Yeah. Because all this time he thought she was really into it and everything, and then she just come out and said, oh, no, I'm not. I'm just sort of basically doing it for you. And he was kind of like, shit. This is why one of those things that I always think it's very bad to fake or lie.
Yes.
So I know that pretty much, I would say most women out there have faked at some point.
No comment.
Yeah. And I ask them why, and they usually say, because I just wanted it over with.
No comment. I did want to tell someone he could hurry up and finish.
At least that's just honest.
It had been going on for a really long time.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, mate. I'm numb. Nothing's going to happen now.
We'd had fun up to that point, but it had been a few hours, and I was like, I'm ready for bed. Yeah. So you can just finish now. He's like, that's not how it works. I'm like, well, can you make it?
Yeah. Have I got to put my thumb up your bum? What have I got to do here?
What do I have to do? Yeah, if you lie once,
it is pretty much
snowballs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very badly. And I've had, from what I know, I'm really hoping that I've done okay in the past. Who knows? At least with Carrie is brutally honest. And believe me, I would know if I hadn't done my duties as I should. But there was one woman and she was a horrible human being. So I'm very, very glad that I never had to see her again because she was a foul individual. one of these human beings who I discovered really enjoyed sleeping with other women's husbands because to her it's me getting one over on their wives. After I found that out, I was like, go away. I never want to see you
to me
ever again.
Wow.
But she apparently faked it with me. And it's like, well, to be honest, I'm not surprised.
Wasn't enough of a thrill. You weren't a married man.
No, exactly. Yeah. I wasn't particularly great.
And if you're
on that
watching...
occasion. Yeah. You are a horrible piece of shit.
Yeah.
You always have been, always will be.
What a dick.
Well, put it this way. The village she came from, she told me that she'd... her words were, and this is hilarious, she said that basically what was going on in the village is all the people were sleeping with other women's husbands and all this, and everyone was tapping each other's phone calls and stuff. I actually found out, no, the village wasn't sleeping with other people's husbands. She was. So she basically just put herself around most of the village.
Oh.
So...
Why didn't you stay with her?
I know, she was such a keeper.
She'd have made a great stream guest.
Sick of my mouth. But yes, Jesus, we've nearly been here an hour and a half.
Oh my God.
I know, doesn't time fly when you're talking about silly stuff?
Let's talk about sex,
baby.
Let's talk about you.
And we've still got people as well. Even better. Has anyone got any questions?
Yeah.
Come on, we're up for questions.
No holes barred.
Boom. Do let us know. If there's any avenue that you think we should have covered, any sort of thing that we've maybe skipped over, let us know, because it'd be interesting to get everyone's opinions on things. But I do think sex is one of those things that people still feel very uncomfortable talking about the realities of it and what can go wrong. Like people getting really self-conscious if, like, for example, if you don't perform as well, if a man struggles to get an erection one time, if a woman is struggling to get aroused at some time, and that they think that this is all absolutely terrible stuff and it's a reflection on who you are as a person. It's like, no, it's not. It's human bodies.
It's you know, I don't know whether I'm warped because me and my friends are so incredibly open with one another. We know about each other's bowel movements. You know, we can sit together and happily talk about poo, and then we'll suddenly be talking about the last time we had sex, or you know, what we want to do to someone else, kind of thing. And it's so freeing, and I appreciate not everyone has the same friendship group and they maybe not feel comfortable with it.
No.
But if you found a person or a group of people that you can just chat shit with, because I've said it earlier, no doubt the stuff in your head is so much worse than the reality of what you're worried about. You know, it could be something simple that you've got to hang up about, something that you do in bed or you like to do in bed. And you think, no one else would have this. No one else has got this kink. No one else likes to do this. No one else makes that noise. No one else has ever faked an orgasm before. And then you mention it to a friend and they go like, oh no, I've done all those things. I love having my toes sucked.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it when he farts in my face. It just... and then you go, oh.
I love it when it's up to the ankle.
Gross. Each to their own. I once had a guy, my favourite thing about online dating was the weird messages I used to get, and I got one that said, I want to see your feet. And I said, oh, well, I wear like stiletto heels to work for 8 hours a day, and I'm training for a marathon. My feet are a mess. And he went, oh, that's even better. So yeah, just if you can talk about it, talk about it. I know people want to be private, but I think we've managed to stay relatively private, haven't we, in this chat? We've not given away names. We've not
any information about sort of partners that's something that would embarrass them, or
and you know, full disclosure, the things that have happened to me, the people that are involved, if they were watching this, would know it was about them. I'm not about to go and find their boss on LinkedIn and let them know.
No.
So yeah, it's, you know, chatting always helps.
Or there's an example of that. A girl I knew who, she mentioned that she had, I think she was really embarrassed about it, and she had genital warts. It's a perfectly normal thing that can happen to anybody. It's not a big deal. But she was so embarrassed and almost had that attitude of that, oh, this is dirty, it's a dirty thing. And then her friend was sitting at the table, she goes, I've had them, what's the problem? Don't worry about it. And you could just see the relief that just flooded her face of, oh my God, I'm not disgusting.
Yeah. If it's a recognised medical condition, at least one other person has had them.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got like a foot growing out of it, bit weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always... Most people, humans have been on this earth for at least 2,000 years. So someone's going to have done something weirder than you.
Oh, God, just go look at Greek pottery. If you want to see, I've got Matt, when he was away on holiday, brought me back a calendar of erotic Greek pottery.
Sexy.
It was amazing. There is a woman sowing seeds to a field of cocks.
We've all had weekends like that, haven't we?
We have. And
I'll show you what Glenn sent me earlier, because this is just... I don't know whether I can show this on the camera as well. Glenn, you're about to be famous for your shitty face stuff you send me.
Excellent.
Yeah. I don't know whether you can see this on the camera. But yeah, someone has done like a little carving of a man with his willy in the air.
And a bum hole.
And a bum hole. In the top of a church.
Yeah, so before anyone tries to get this stream taken down, this is in a public place in a church.
Yeah. 800 years ago.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, the Greeks were putting things up each other's bums, and it's been going on for years.
Yeah.
So anything that... All you cool kids who think that you're teaching people something new, trust me, you're not.
Should we open a sex clinic?
God help them. All right, ladies and gents, I think we are reaching the end of our session. So it's been really good fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's been
good fun.
An absolute pleasure. So unless there's any questions or anything anyone wants to say very, very quickly, please let us know. What pearls of wisdom would you depart? Oh, well done. Thank you, Bav.
Thank you, Bav. I think, yeah, if there's any children watching.
No.
If you have children and they're looking for some advice, if they're not comfortable talking about sex, if the thought of sex makes them go giggly and they're not ready to have it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're having sex with someone and you're not comfortable talking to them about the act that you are doing together, probably shouldn't be having sex with them.
No. I think my pearl of wisdom would be, do not be ashamed of being human and having the thoughts and feelings of a normal human.
Yeah.
Because I know people who are so scared of what they think that it really impacts them, and it can be anything you experience physically or mentally as a human being. The chances are most other people will have felt it at some point in their life. If you suffer with impotency, I can guarantee you at some point in a man's life he will experience this. I've experienced it through self-imposed pressure, things like that. That's one of the actual key things that can cause a man to be impotent, is just the absolute fear. Yeah, the absolute fear of it. But the fantasies you have, the things you feel, the things that go on in your head, if you can talk to your partner about it, do it. Because some partners will be understanding, some partners will pretend that they have never had any of those kind of thoughts and they only ever think about their partner. That's bollocks.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're all human. We all have thoughts, fantasies, kinks. It's just part of being human. If we can just accept that about each other and know that it doesn't have to be a taboo. You know, Carrie can talk about men she fancies. I end up talking about the men she fancies because I think they're probably quite hot too.
Yep. Love a girl crush.
Yeah, and we can all just look.
I think the general rule should be, don't be ashamed of it unless it's illegal.
Sodomy was illegal.
Unless it's currently illegal.
Yeah.
Unless it's morally wrong.
If it's Jimmy Savile illegal, then we know it's wrong.
If it was going to be allowed by the BBC in the 70s, don't do it now.
That is the perfect
Good
soundbite
night.
to end on. Right. Thank you very much, Charlie. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you everyone for tuning in. So I'm hoping to do some more of these in the future if I can find people who are willing to come up and talk about their experiences. So we've sort of touched on some darker sides of things, but there are obviously, with sex, there are a lot darker sides to this. So there's also the kink side to it, you know, what people get out of certain fantasies and, you know, sort of the boxes it ticks in their mind. You know, again, there's all fantasies, nothing's off the cards if it's between consenting adults. That's generally the rule. So if anyone would like to come on in the future and talk about this kind of stuff with me, please do. It'd be lovely to have you, and be very educational. So,
stay safe.
Stay safe. Stay sexy, everybody. Oh, this is where you just want to go. This is Kylie Minogue with I'm Spinning Around.
I'm spinning around.
It's murder on the dance floor. Sophie Ellis-Bextor. See you later, everyone.
See ya.